So, what do you want to talk about?
All of it, every single second of it, everything I watched last night. Oh my God, Jesus Christ, it was incredible.
Coming up on today's wrestling news, WrestleMania madness. Cody's made his decision.
The Rock turns heel. What does he do at WrestleMania?
Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch foreshadow their showdown.
And what now for Seth Rollins?
I'm Adam Wilbourn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
I'm literally never wrong, and this is the news.
He's the only real journalist.
Only one place to start. I mean, it's the only thing we're going to be talking about probably for the next 2 months,
Yeah,
probably.
60 odd days, whatever it was they said.
So, last night was, of course, the WrestleMania. Oh, this is the news, sorry.
Yeah.
Last night was, of course. Did I think this is the news already? I can't remember.
I don't know, but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, last night was the WrestleMania 40 press conference, and, well, the Oscars don't need to worry because I've just seen the greatest piece of cinema I've ever seen. So, to talk you through it, we'll sort of circle back to...
We've been in the office less than an hour.
Circle back to some of the stuff that happened with Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair in due course. But the main event was basically Seth Rollins comes out. He gets a bit of a pep, to be fair, and then he basically says, you know, it's not my decision what happens at WrestleMania in the main event. Let's bring out Cody Rhodes. He doesn't come out. Roman Reigns does instead.
Yeah.
Followed later on by The Rock, after there was a bit of bickering between Roman and Seth. The Rock introduced the Bloodline family tree, got booed out of the goddamn building whilst he was trying to do his catchphrases, and basically announced, Roman announced, I suppose, it is going to be Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania. Then, apologies to our editor, after The Rock said, if you don't think Rock versus Roman Reigns is isn't the biggest main event in WrestleMania history, it doesn't matter what you think, and said it's the best and biggest main event in WrestleMania history, bound by blood, and they hugged. Cody Rhodes walked out and said, "This right here is bullshit." He said, "It's not your choice to decide who you face at WrestleMania, Roman. It's mine. And at WrestleMania 40, in the main event, I choose you, Roman Reigns." Yes! We did it!
I feel like I want to run across the camera like with that face like that.
Seth Rollins is stood there like a spare prick at a wedding, but still, Reigns flips out at this, saying, "What are you doing? Go over there, go to the losers bracket, go to be the number 2, go there with the dummy in green," Seth Rollins. He said, "You're irrelevant, just like your dad, Cody." Cody wasn't going to let him get away with something like that.
No.
Basically saying that Reigns doesn't have family, he has goons, the bloodline. He references Jey Uso not being a part of this anymore, of course. And he said, "How can either of you, Rock and Roman, describe yourselves as heads of the table when neither of you have been doing any cooking in the last 2 years?"
That's it, I'm done.
And he basically said, if Reigns' grandfather or Rock's grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia, of course, were here, they'd be ashamed of Roman Reigns. Subsequently, Triple H, I should mention, just to cover the official stuff off, Triple H tweeted, "Decision made, Cody Rhodes gets the chance to finish his story when he challenges Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania XL," and the poster's been doing the rounds already, of course. Anyway, Rock didn't take too kindly about all the family stuff. And he said, "Hey, when you badmouth his family, you're talking about my family. When you're talking about his ancestors, you're talking about my ancestors. When you're talking about his blood, you're talking about my blood." And then he slapped the taste out of Cody Rhodes' mouth. He tried to slap the teeth out of his mouth, basically. And, well, here we are. We don't really know what The Rock's doing at WrestleMania, but we know that there's a new sort of two-man power trip basically in the bloodline.
Indeed, yeah. Like staggering stuff. If you haven't already seen it and you listen to this recap, I would recommend pausing it and watching it and then coming back. Obviously, as a live experience, you know, WWE were looking to create a capital M moment. But like, let's talk about the fact and the fiction here. This absolutely feels at this point like a pivot from where we were at 7 days ago. Not just that The Rock came back and they didn't put a graphic up, Cody Rhodes outright said,
not at WrestleMania.
Not at WrestleMania.
Fair.
Like, there is no doubt that like plans have changed, pal, at some point down the line. And it feels as if they've been changed mostly by The Rock attempting to maybe read some tea leaves. He's come back presumably for this great celebratory pat on the back run and then found himself with people getting the knives out instead.
Yeah.
So he's thought, right, what can we do with this? And
he couldn't even do his finally bit last night.
This is it. Like, for those, ultimately what we're saying here is that what we think we saw last night was a Rock heel turn, leaning in to large portions of the audience wanting to boo him. We saw the We Want Cody thing on Raw. WWE certainly didn't shy away from it. The dislikes ratio on the video, all that kind of stuff. And then The Rock himself on Pat McAfee's chat show yesterday afternoon, referring to fans as Cody crybabies, almost like tee people up in Vegas if they weren't already clued in into maybe where this was going to go once we hit Showtime. When Roman picked The Rock, that scanned as a heel decision. When The Rock was prepared to accept it, that scanned as a heel decision. When the two of them are doing their bloodline agreement, that scanned as about the most heelish way to destroy WrestleMania, which presented...
I was watching that going, who the hell do I cheer now? I love The Rock, but what's going on?
This was it. This was them absolutely like sort of at least reading that section of the fan base. There were some chants for Rock, though predominantly it was a Cody crowd, but you could hear a little bit of division within the crowd, and you know there are sort of people that have maybe leaned in just to see what The Rock's up to and might feel a little bit confused by this. It's absolutely not a situation that you would have imagined, say, 12 months ago. If you would say, right, this time next year, The Rock's going to be around. What's he going to do at WrestleMania? When you're thinking, well, Cody's going to have won the belt, which is great because it frees it up for Roman. And anyway, we are here where we are now. And to the point about The Rock and his attitude change and all of that, in the aftermath of all of this, Triple H, Postman Pierce, SmackDown GM, can't remember his name, we'll definitely remember it on the SmackDown podcast. Stay tuned for that later today.
WhatCulture Wrestling Podcast, wherever you get your podcast from.
There was a pull apart and everybody was separated. There was a lot of effing and jeffing. Even more in the backstage bit. Triple H was being asked to clarify what had gone down. He, as good as announced the match ahead of posting the graphic on X. And then he was interrupted by The Rock and Roman Reigns, who were leaving together. As you say, there were certain power trip vibes. Bit of karmic retribution for Roman Reigns, Lil Bro in Seth Rollins, because it kind of happened to him when he submits to The Rock. Rock looked infuriated with Triple H. All of a sudden, it was like, oh my God, it's the year 2000. 60-second Iron Man match, please. And The Rock, other than some words that were bleeped out, again, some effing and jeffing, told Triple H to fix this. And Triple H looked a bit sort of, what the hell do I do now? Which has led Brian Alvarez to tweet almost immediately after fact that reports are it will be a tag match on night one, featuring Roman and Rock versus Seth and Cody to lead in to Cody and Roman night 2. There is no graphic for that yet. Obviously, they have, 60 days, they were saying, roughly?
Yeah, they've done quite well. I thought after this, I presumed yesterday that after this, it was just going to be like, right, road to WrestleMania, usual stuff. Aside from the main event of WrestleMania, with Cody and Roman, nothing's set in stone. So it's sort of very clever in terms of you have to tune in every week to see what we do next with this.
Yeah, so yesterday, kind of the spitballing were going all over the place, but that was kind of how this press conference played out. Yesterday, the problem seemed to be, well, The Rock is only going to want to work night 2, we assume, and Roman Reigns is only going to want to work one of the evenings, we assume. Now, both of those things seem to have exploded up, and who knows where the pieces are all going to fall. As you say, Seth Rollins at the moment has a bit of a job on, yet again, to restore some dignity in his own character, and we'll get onto him a little bit later on in this news when we've covered some other stuff that went down at this press conference. But quite remarkable. Here, Wilbourn, now it appears that the tribal chief himself is working both nights of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Catch up, Roman, because we've been doing that for the whole time.
Heyo!
And we'll be meeting your WrestleMania sandwich. WhatCulture.com/tickets if you want to join us live. It's always sunny at WhatCulture, and it'll be sunny at Underground Arts at Philadelphia, where all of us, including Simon Miller, the proper one, will be there. It'll be all this sort of usual nonsense. The live show, we'll be talking about everything, and God knows what that'll be now, that happened at night 1, and everything. And thank God I think we know what's going to happen at night 2. It's going to be a podcast, it's going to be Q&A, it's going to be all that sort of fun and games. Tickets are available, WhatCulture.com/tickets. VIP are gone, general sale are available. Come and join us. It's WrestleMania, man. I've got the reason for the season and it feels like it's happening.
It's the greatest pivot in wrestling history. It's one of the biggest WrestleMania builds I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's even more perfect because now we're doing a live show there.
I've not seen a pivot as aggressive since Ross was trying to get that sofa down the stairs.
And
this one was more effective somehow.
WhatCulture.com/tickets. Do join us for that one. But we'll talk about some of the other stuff that happened at the kickoff for WrestleMania 40. You had Bianca Belair coming out and getting a fantastic reaction and putting over a TV show and stuff. Still don't really know what she's going to be doing at WrestleMania yet, but...
I mentioned wanting to continue a streak. It felt like there was a challenge, but who was going to answer that?
Bianca Belair was knocking about because I saw some fans' photos. Thank you to people who sent them to us. But in terms of Rhea Ripley and her title, she came out to set up the fact, obviously, she's defending the belt against Nia Jax at Elimination Chamber. She was kind of surprised, it seemed, by the amount of mammy chants that she got in all this. But yeah, she promoted the match in Australia with Nia Jax, and she's going to say, I'm going to be ready for whoever wins the Elimination Chamber, because she mentioned obviously Bayley's chosen. Did she say Io Shirai as well?
Oh, I didn't catch that. She might have done, yeah.
She might have done. Anyway, but this brought out Becky Lynch, who's obviously in the Elimination Chamber for the first time and could be facing, fingers crossed, Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. She promoted a potential matchup between her and Rhea. She dubbed it Mammy versus the Man. And Lynch said she's made a legendary career out of knocking Golden Girls from their top spots, and Mammy is going to find out what it's like to be a bottom.
Oh, what a line, oh my God.
And they face off, and presumably that is one of the big title matches for WrestleMania 40. We've got a little bit of a Twitter question about that, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But yeah, they felt like megastars on that stage, didn't they?
They did, and I think this was obviously there's going to be criticisms about the fact that you're kind of like jumping ahead of PLE.
Yeah.
But that PLE felt predictable. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that. And to be absolutely fair to Becky and Rhea in this case as well, if the timing had allowed for them to be sort of platformed on such a massive stage, you would want to do it.
Yeah.
So it feels like, you're kind of throwing away an opportunity. Speaking of throwing away an opportunity, because there's going to be no other way to get this into the conversation, shout out to CM Punk, as always.
Oh.
Forever Dago, and what a performance he put in last night, merely on the kickoff panel.
And friend of the channel and all-round top bloke Big E as well. Great to see him back on WWE television.
I hope he kind of like assumes that role.
Oh.
But he made the very salient point, I believe, about where exactly Bayley was indeed on the WrestleMania poster at that event last night. She was a GD Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah.
Just because her match is announced, it doesn't mean that you don't give them equal opportunity to have that sort of incredible, like, I was going to say flashbulbs flickering. They do it in your head now because it's all on people's phones. But you could feel sort of the excitement around the face-off between the two. That's kind of been Becky and Rhea's deal for years now, hasn't it? Every now and then they cross paths. It looks kind of awesome, and we have landed at the destination for it. We'll see at WrestleMania.
Can't wait for that.
Becky's at the half, back to Seth Rollins. Did his best to keep himself in the conversation last night when it wasn't exactly staged to help him.
No.
Yet again, it was looking like it was going to be that time that the Click and DX had their hug in the ring, and the view never changes for poor old Seth. But to be fair, he did come to Cody's aid when it looked as if he'd suddenly been a bit of a 2-on-1 situation. He was flinging some effing and jeffing at Roman Reigns, and I think he's got a fair few receipts there as well when it comes to what Roman said about him.
Yelling at Rock saying, doesn't matter if you're on the board, I don't care.
Indeed, yeah. Certainly thrusting himself into the mix there. But somebody who isn't in the mix is CM Punk. There he was at the kickoff panel. He had his arm in that, like, it was like, looked like a Steve Austin knee brace to your elbow, didn't it? Bless him. Get well seeing CM Punk. But yeah, any shred of a chance that like that match is on, it's not happening.
No.
And Seth Rollins remains without a challenger. We have Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn sort of quietly calling their shots for a world title contention.
Really like that as a potential triple threat.
Damien Priest is holding a briefcase, and we say all these things because per Brian Alvarez is reporting about this tag team match. Does that match now need the belt? Seth Rollins is carrying around this injury. Will he carry the title into WrestleMania? It's all up for question. It does seem as if he'll get something huge on night one with this tag match.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite realistically, it's probably going to be the pin eater in it. But the placement in it is some sort of, I don't want to say reward, but like as good a consolation prize as Seth Rollins can get, considering that it looked pretty sure he was going to be in this massive match against the Punker before Punk got injured at the Rumble. So yeah, that's obviously appearing where Seth Rollins is going to land, but doesn't necessarily mean he'll walk in with a title. I think this throws a lot of other things up in the air in quite an exciting way.
Yeah, I like Drew, Sammy, and Seth on night 2, triple threat for the world title after night 1, which presumably Seth gets his main event with. You don't put those 4 in a match.
Or Drew versus Sammy.
Yeah,
the shot.
Who knows?
Certainly having a lot of overlapping wrestlers, aren't you? As well.
But yeah, I think they did the best job that they could to try and salvage Seth Rollins' position in all this, because like you say, it was always going to be difficult to have Cody come out and go, thanks, but no. Face Roman, obviously contradicting what he said on SmackDown, but regardless. I love this as a tag match. Yeah. I love this as a way to get them all in the main event and sort of satisfy everything.
If this was the Attitude Era, you'd be getting like that on the Raw Go Home.
Yes.
And now it just feels like they're going to hoy both on WrestleMania.
As you mentioned, 50% of the tag match are already working both nights in Roman and Cody. Yeah. If it goes the way we are assuming it's going to, so I wouldn't put it against Seth to have a title match on night 2. But who knows? All up in the air, like you say, they could have Damien Priest cash in and have him face R-Truth for the world title.
Could be a men's chamber for a shot now. Yep. That feels back on the table, so Who knows, man?
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, isn't it?
It's just bonkers.
If we're coming across as wired, it's because we were like this in WhatsApp DMs at like 1 a.m. UK time last night, trying to come to terms with everything we just said. All caps.
I might tweet out our conversation a little bit later on today. I'll censor some parts.
I was losing it, brother.
As we were getting rather excited about this, and Phil and Gareth and Andrew over the weekend will keep you up to date with all the fallout from this going forward, because of course we've got SmackDown tonight as well. What's going to happen there?
Wilbourn's on annual leave next week, and I know for a fact he wishes he wasn't.
Oh, honestly.
This is hat.
If I wasn't going to the water park at Alton Towers, I'd be really saying to Annalise, any chance we can just push it back a few more weeks? And when I say a few more weeks, after early April, let's say.
May, after Le Backlash.
We're going to bash in Berlin then.
Oh, my
Looks like we're not going on holiday this year. Anyway, let's get to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE on X, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Matt Brightman. Matt, thank you for your question, and apologies. I've tried to cover off a lot of people's questions with what we've said already, because I know there's so many different directions this could head in. But Matt says, morning gents, with the interaction between Cody and The Rock at the presser, do you think we'll see a match at the Elimination Chamber between Rock and Cody? I'm thinking Dwayne ends up officially joining the Bloodline by SummerSlam.
I don't know. I thought when we saw them pairing off that this was going to mean a tag at Elimination Chamber, kind of out of nowhere. But then Alvarez says night one, and that seems to make a lot of sense as well. I can't see The Rock wrestling before WrestleMania.
No.
I wouldn't see why you would. Like, that's as much of anything, isn't it? Like, they're just seeing him in the gear again and getting back out there. So no. But
in WWE's mentality, they've already got big matches for the Chamber. Becky presumably winning, a hometown hero taking on Rhea Ripley, because Nia Jax was born in Sydney. Thank you to everyone who's pointed this out for me. And whatever happens with the World Heavyweight Championship.
The beauty of a tag, of course, when you've got Cody and Roman for a belt this year, is that Rock, Roman, Cody and Rock, Roman, Seth now have basically all been preserved for rainy days. And by rainy days, I mean like enormous stadium filling tailgates. So you've kind of like those three singles matches at least. Are like WrestleMania 41, SummerSlam, whatever, however you want to do it, they're all sat right there off the back of the four on the stage.
It's just spoilt for choice now, aren't we?
It's quite something.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just announced the contract signing for Elimination Chamber, because it feels big enough, doesn't it?
That'd be something for the Perth fans as well, to be getting The Rock live in person. But
although I think Roman said he can't be asked. Well, Cody will show up and do something, no doubt. But he's got to deal with Drew. Drew kicked his ass on Monday.
That's why The Rock was so angrily insisting Triple H fix it there and then, because they don't intend to turn up for work before WrestleMania. It's like, well, this is us till Mania, Paul, so you best get on it.
Fix this and then call me on Zoom and let me know what happened. Pranav, thank you for your question. Pranav says, well, that was a heck of a show, wasn't it? I don't think I've ever wanted a press conference to go longer. Yes. My question isn't about the men, though. Do you think they spoiled the Women's Chamber match by having Becky come out and square up to Rhea?
Well, yes and no. Both the Chamber, we're calling it the main event, who knows, but like the Rhea Ripley Nia Jax title match and the Chamber, both were leading us to believe that it was going to be Rhea and Becky, and then WWE appeared to manifest that last night. But what have we just seen last night? Did they create that image with a view of throwing us like a red herring, basically, and like either Nia Jax somehow beats Ripley, I don't think that one's going to happen, or someone shockingly defeats Becky Lynch in the
Liv's got a qualifying match soon, hasn't she? Bianca as well.
Bianca Belair was effectively calling her WrestleMania shot without having a dance partner, so does she suddenly get in the chamber thinking, well, this is my way? I get the complaint, and I certainly, as I was saying in the report and in the news, I think it's from WWE's point of view, they just simply wanted to get the big visual in the big moment.
I think we all assumed that was going to be the match anyway.
And like, is that not what people want? I think sometimes unpredictable is great in wrestling, but predictable is good because it rewards what you've been watching all along. And in Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, they have the current, right now, biggest star in the division, and realistically the biggest one they've ever built, going head to head.
As we've always said, WWE's the listening promotion. They listen to the fans and they obviously adapt to what we want, because they love giving us what we want, and that's why the Fed's the best and Papa H is cooking. And as I've always said, just guys, let it play out, because I've never been wrong. Speaking of which, Reese Macy says, Adam Wilbourn, how many E's will you add for that chaos, and what will Dr. Fed be prescribing Sidge today? Sidge is off today. He booked this in advance, by the way. His Mrs., who's a doctor, has got this big presentation, so congratulations to Mrs. Sidgwick.
Yeah, a real doctor Dr. Sidgwick.
Yeah.
But from Dr. Fed to my friend Michael Sidgwick, I've prescribed him what we've just discussed there, a day off, to get him away from this specifically. In the light of
First thing I texted when it was confirmed was, I'm going to be unbearable for 2 months.
In the light of the chaos, I consulted my medicine cabinet and I saw a few days off away from Wacky Wilbourn. And he took to the dose very well,
Yeah.
and he was
Good.
nowhere near it, so yeah.
I will say this, people assume, I was just going to be high as a kite today. We're getting Cody versus Roman. It's what we all wanted. The fans campaigned for it, and they have seemingly pivoted, like you say.
Unexpectedly so, I would say.
And we're still getting The Rock in a weird tag match, which is awesome, and Seth and all that, right? But I'm not 100% happy. I got to say, I'm not 100% happy. You would assume I would be. But with all these bloody developments, I'm going to have to splash out on Twitter Blue so I can have enough characters for the C tweet I'm going to drop at WrestleMania.
I could feel those E's like perforating my
Come
ears.
on, get in!
Anyway, we had fun.
Yeah,
we had fun with the
about
press conference. What did you think? Comments.
Yes, please do let us know, and what's WrestleMania going to look like? Let us know in the comments. As he mentioned, we're going to talk more in detail about this on the SmackDown preview podcast. We'll probably talk briefly about what's going to happen on SmackDown as well. What Culture Wrestling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from. And join us for Wrestle Culture live on the What Culture Wrestling Podcast channel later on today on YouTube, 3:30 UK time. We'll be going through it all, and hey, maybe someone will write a song. Who knows? But for now, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for all your questions. And to kill the time until we find out what the hell's going on next, why not check out this video? Bye!